Good morning, everybody. Hope you've had a good week. We did have a mental health counselor from our department come in, talk to our team on Tuesday, and I thought it was very productive. Sometimes you start looking at the stats in the country about suicides, and it's really, really scary. And we're going to have them come back and talk to our staff outside of our coaches, whoever wasn't in the team meeting as well, because when you look at the numbers of 15 to 34-year-olds are most affected by suicides, that we've got a lot of young students and people on our staff. So we're going to have the counselor talk to them next week as well. Harris Barton is going into the National Football Hall of Fame. We're really excited for him. He will be honored with his own campus salute this weekend. So there will be some functions leading into it, but he will be honored at the game on Saturday. Practice has been really good. The kids continue to work and compete, and they're disappointed like all the rest of us. But they know we got to keep working. We got to get better. And the biggest issues seem to be the inconsistency, and we haven't handled adversity as well this year as we have in the last two. We haven't had a lot of issues come up. We didn't have expectations, and it seems like the bigger the expectations, we're about where we were last year. We were 4-2 at this time. First year we were 3-3, so it's not that much different really, but the expectations were, and that makes us all feel differently about it than we should. And really and truly, we're still in a process of building that culture and learning how to handle adversity and having leadership within the team, because leadership changes every year, and we've just got to keep getting better. But they are working, and they do realize that we haven't played as a team, and we haven't played up to our potential, and that's something we've got to do. Miami, I hate that De'Aaron King's hurt. As a coach, you hate that for young people. He's one of the better quarterbacks in the country. A guy that was mentioned in the Heisman race in preseason. He hurt his knee last year in the bowl game, then comes back and has his shoulder this year. So really want to wish him good luck moving forward. Miami's a very, very talented team. They're very similar to the talent on Florida State's team. And they're young, and like us, they're trying to find who they are, and they're trying to get on track. So it should be a great game. Their defensive front's the most talented we will have played to this point. You start looking at their multiple defense. Coach Diaz is calling the defenses now. They've got three sure shot NFL guys and a lot more, but Bubba Bolden, the safety 21, is a great player. He's a big, tall guy that can run and makes plays all over the field. Silvera, the number one, the defensive tackle, is just hard to handle on the inside, but they got a lot of big bodies there, and they got a Georgia transfer, Tariq Stevenson, that looks like a number one draft pick as well. He can really cover, and he can hit you. Probably the big story for them is the freshman quarterback, who I thought gained so much confidence the last half against Virginia. And Tyler Van Dyke's his name, and he came in and played really well. He's big. He's a pro style quarterback. He's very, very accurate, but he can run for a big guy too. And he did a lot of good things. Also, they've got two NFL receivers, and you start looking at Rambo, who transferred in from Oklahoma, and Harley, number 3, who we've played against for the previous 2 years, and they returned 4 of their 5 offensive linemen. So we've got our hands full from that standpoint. Andy Borgalis was a kicker that we recruited and offered. He's maybe the best in the country, and he had the tough miss against Virginia at the end of the game, but he's one of the best in the country. And he'll be back, and he will end up being a pro kicker in NFL, and he's got that type of leg. And Javon DeWitt knew him when he was down there at coaching in South Florida, and really, really likes the young guy. And their punter is one of the best in the country, the big 6'4" young guy from Australia, that Lou Headley, and he can change field position. So it's really not about Miami for us. It's about us. We've got to be more consistent, and we've got to handle adversity. And we haven't handled either one of those very well consistently during the season. You take it, you say, we have 3 weeks and we haven't 3. We've won 3 and we've lost 3. So that's kind of where we are. But again, the most important thing is the coaches and the young people are working really hard and trying to get better. Questions?
Thank you, Coach. First question will come from Andrew Jones.
Hey, Coach, when you say it's about you guys, where does that begin?
It begins with us not making as many mistakes. I mean, it's too many penalties. It's and 2 of the 3 losses, too many turnovers. And a couple of the losses, too many missed tackles. So that's as I've said many times, this is a simple game played by complicated people, and that makes the game complicated. So I told the guys today, everybody says, well, I don't know what's going to happen Saturday. Well, you do if you make it happen, and we've got to make it happen, and that's important for us.
On the subject of the communication issues on defense that we've all talked about a lot here in the last couple of weeks, can you measure progress during the week, or do you kind of have to wait till Saturday to see how they handle the live fire?
Andrew, the thing that's been so frustrating with this team and teams that don't play consistently well is we didn't have any communication problems at Duke. We didn't have communication problems at Virginia. We didn't have communication problems at Georgia State. We did at Georgia Tech, and we didn't really at Virginia Tech. We played great defense up there, but we did last week. And again, if I got into what one of the communications was, you'd be absolutely shocked how simple it was. I've never seen it before in my 47 years in coaching. But if I told you what it was, then you'd want to know who it was. Then we'd be embarrassing the young guy, and I'm just not going to do that. So the good thing is it's all fixable. What happened last week is not what happened against Wake Forest last year. So we're making progress in those areas. It's just this seems to be a year that everything that could happen bad for us has happened so far, and we've just still got to keep our head up and keep fighting through it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Coe, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, when you're going up against someone like Coach Diaz, who is from your coaching tree, is there any added pressure on your end to add sort of an extra wrinkle to the game plan because Coach Diaz might know you better than most?
Michael, there's really not, because Manny's got different coaches than who coached with us at Texas. We've got different schemes than we had at Texas on both sides of the ball. So it's a good question and a good thought, but who's coaching the other team will have absolutely nothing to do with it. You speak to them before the game, you speak to them after the game, and other than that, you really don't think about the other sideline.
Thanks.
Thank you, Michael.
Taylor Vippolis, go ahead.
Hey, Coach Brown. When it comes to the receivers, whether they're creating separation or not downfield, how challenging is it still to keep a receiver engaged in the offense when they're only getting one target in, like 40 passing snaps?
All right, Taylor, it's tough, but again, it's their responsibility to get open. And if they're not separating, it's hard to throw it to them. And you start looking at how many contested balls have we caught this year. We've gone back to 50-50 or less instead of 80-20, and we've got to be better than that. So we're throwing it to Josh Downs because he's open, he's catching it. And we're trying to get other guys to do the same. We're even working at different ways to get them to separate more. So, but one of the biggest issues with our offense, Miami's got great pass rush, and so protecting Sam's going to be an issue this weekend. They blitz a lot, they come after you, they're multiple, but they got guys that can cover all over the place. They can run. So we have got to start getting open. We can't keep depending on Josh so much inside.
Follow-up question to that, sticking with the receivers, is there anything you think the staff can do play calling wise to make somebody like Joffrey Brown more comfortable in the offense? Because even when he does drop it, it seems like there's nobody within 5 yards, and he is one of the guys that is creating separation, it looks like.
Yeah, Taylor, what I will say without getting into any individual player is that we watch them every day in practice, and the coaches have obviously gotten him open, but guys have to catch the ball. A wide open drop means you punt, and that's no different than somebody not getting open. So we've got to be productive. If you want the ball as an outside receiver, get open and catch the ball and run with it afterwards. and we will get it to you more. But I can promise you, all these things that you are bringing up have been addressed, and really since spring practice. And the problem is we're still not making progress in those areas, and we've got to. That's one of the number one areas we've got to improve now in our offense.
Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor.
Okay, Brandon, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, your team has yet to overcome a deficit this year. Anytime the opposing team has taken the lead, your team is going on to lose. Is there anything as a staff you can do to teach your kids to handle adverse situations, or is that something that will come with more reps and experience?
Brandon, we're talking about it every day. It's hard to create adversity during practice. So that one they have to grow up and they have to handle. And we feel like that we've got to have better leadership within the team. Coaches can't do that. We're not on the field. You can scream and you can shout, but players have to handle it. Player-led teams are the best teams, and we've got to do a better job in each unit of having someone step up. And when something bad happens, then we step up and fight it. The other one that's crazy, like an elephant in the room, is we've been outscored 30-69 again this year in the second quarter. What can that possibly be about? I mean, we've looked at every possible thing that could be causing that, and we talked about depth. We talked about getting tired the first year. All these excuses we've had, none of them have worked. So we got to play better starting the second quarter.
Okay, let's go over to CL Brown.
Hey, Mack, you talked about, you just mentioned player-led teams are the best one. And Jeremiah Gemmel was one of the guys who said, he was talking about after the game, was talking about calling a players meeting on the defensive side Sunday before or after they lifted weights or what have you. I was just curious, you mentioned that practice has gone well. Have you seen that kind of leadership from some of your guys? Have you seen some guys maybe be a little bit more vocal and try and take that leadership mantle a little more this week?
Yeah, CL, but you got to do it during the game too. I mean, that's the thing. Jeremiah is a great leader, and you can't be a great leader unless you're one of the best players and play harder than everybody else all the time. And he does all that. I feel like he's probably the best leader on our team, but you got to have it at each unit. You got to pick your guys up in each room, and we've got to do that. And we said one of the concerns was we've got some older and some really younger guys, and some of the younger guys are playing a little bit more than the older guys, and that's tough. That's difficult for an older guy to lead if a younger guy's taking some of his reps, but all that stuff we got to handle. And that's one of the real challenges that you have as a head coach and a staff is making all these things that are very obvious to all of us work. And it's hard to do, but we're going to do it. Done it before. We're going to fight through this thing and get us back on track. And hopefully it's this weekend. If it's not, we'll keep fighting them.
And how tempted were you maybe after Saturday to make, I don't know if wholesale changes is the right way to put it, but in terms of personnel, like if you're not getting the response that you want, a lot of times, coaches just throw somebody else in there. I mean, was that something that you've wrestled with, and possibly could we see some of that on Saturday?
CL, that's what everybody wants, is when it's not working, throw it all out and just start over. And that's not what you do, because a lot of the guys played good. And the problem we've had is it's been different people. I mean, it's been different units when they just haven't played together. Offense did some really good things on Saturday. If it was after the Georgia Tech game, you'd throw the whole offense out. And we don't have enough players to throw them all out. So we gotta make some of it work. But we're looking at tweaking some things. We're looking at getting some guys some more snaps. And I told our team that the seniors need to work hard to get to a bowl game, win as many games as they can here at the end of the year, and leave a legacy of 3 straight bowls after 5 wins in 2 years. And that would leave them in a really good place leaving this program. The young ones need to help the seniors accomplish that. And the young ones need to continue to work to win every game so it can help them be the best possible team they can be next year. So there's still a lot of goals out there. It's just that we've gotten so much into, if you're not in the playoff, if you're not winning the conference championship, if you're not winning the Coastal, then you're why play? And that's not the case with this team. We've still got a lot to get accomplished. And we all know we got ahead of ourselves. We like I said, we won. We were 3-3 2 years ago. It's what we are now. We were just 4-2 last year, and it just lost to Florida State. So world's not coming to an end. We've just got a lot of work to do, and we need to get better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Dina King, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, I got a question about recruiting, which is going really good for you guys. You got a 3-game home stretch. How important is that in your coaches being able to go to commits and recruits games? And do you have a preference if you attend a game?
Dana, the first part of that is it's so much fun to have our coaches being able to go out and watch high school games again and meet the coaches at their schools and watch young guys play in person, because we miss that. And I do think that it affects evaluation. We were lucky we were ahead of the game, but even the NFL scouts said they couldn't see as many people last year, so it was harder for them, and the combine was more important because of that. So number one, it's great for the coaches to be back out on the road, and they miss seeing high school games and seeing the high school coaches. And even last year, our games were in the winter, so and we couldn't see them. Just the whole thing was messed up. Secondly, it's so good to be able to have recruits, 24s, 23s, 22s, 21s on your campus, and that's something we weren't able to do last year. So it's been a lot of fun to see the parents and be around the young people and get to know the families. And we'll have a huge group of recruits in this weekend, and a whole lot of our commitments are coming in. So this will be a great weekend for us to sit there and have it and be involved with it. And recruiting's going really well. It's they know we're headed in the right direction. In fact, in some cases, when you struggle some, they know that you need them more. So it encourages them and gets them more excited about coming in, because they think they might play early. And our players still do a tremendous job of recruiting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Greg Barnes.
Mack, you mentioned a couple of weeks ago about possibly jumping into the transfer portal a little bit more and see what your options are. I was curious about the delegation there. I mean, is that essentially a new recruiting territory for one of your assistants?
Greg, we look at every player that's in the portal every day. Have for the year that we've had, quote, the transfer portal as such, especially since they're eligible immediately. And when we sit down and talk to all of our players next week individually, we'll have a better feel of numbers of who's coming back, who's not. Some may not know. Some may not be as forthright with it right now as you'd hope. That's fair. But we'll have a better idea at least of some guys that may leave or try to go to the NFL or not. And we continue with Coach Moody's position. His position is solely to talk to scouts and talk to general managers and try to help our guys in the NFL, but also tell our guys exactly where they stand, because agents will have different information sometimes than Coach Moody would have after his 19 years of scouting. But every time a guy goes in the portal, I used to send them all to Billy, and I'd see it on Twitter and say, "Here, Billy, check this out." And he's already done it. It's not going to work. Got issues. So our fans need to know we're checking out every player that goes into the portal. And then we would decide, number one, it hasn't been who we are, Greg, but like at center this year, we've had so much trouble because Brian and Q were hurt. That we've even moved Caden Baker over there to try. So I don't know. You got to figure out, do you have a deficiency? And if you do, is there a guy out there that's transferring for the right reasons, like Ty Chandler, and would he fit in your locker room? The locker room is one of the most precious things that we have in sports, and you have to be really, really careful who you bring in. And I do think one of the reasons we're seeing so many upsets now is we're not seeing as many teams. We're seeing pieces of teams that people are bringing in new guys and they're sticking them here and sticking them there. And so there's a lot of different reasons that people are being upset. But I do think that's something we will look at. We're not going wholesale, and we're not going to just take somebody that's a good player that doesn't fit in our locker room. And we've promised our players that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Okay, we'll close up here today with Gary Graves. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, Coach. I've got a ACC related question. How much has Wake's start and being atop the conference really changed the approach for everybody? I mean, I know you all play them later on this season, but with so much of the conference previously focused on Clemson, how much wider does this kind of make this in terms of really preparing for both teams?
I think, Gary, nothing changes for us. We want to be the best team in the league, and we want to win the Coastal, and then win the ACC and be a playoff team, win a national championship. So the fact that Wake is undefeated at this point shows everybody there's hope and everybody's got a chance. And weirdly enough, I don't think I've ever seen a year where there's more parity. You see, Wake goes to overtime with Syracuse at Syracuse. Syracuse loses the last second field goal to Florida State last weekend. So it's just you got to be ready to play every week. Dave does a tremendous job at Wake, and they've got an older team. And I do think the super senior year helped them, it sounds like, because a lot of those guys are back from last year, and they're playing with a lot of confidence. But as far as one team being up and another one struggling a little bit, that doesn't change who we are.
Yeah. What's the biggest challenge with Wake? Is it trying to slow them down or trying to keep up with them offensively?
Yeah. Are you a Wake graduate?
No.
I didn't know. I have not studied Wake. I got Miami. I've been overloaded for 6 weeks. Wake's down the road for us. What they've done in the past is that they're well coached. They make very few mistakes. They've got a unique offense where they run the RPOs and they do it differently. Florida State was doing a lot of the same things that Wake will do last week with their quarterback running game, and they play hard on defense. So, but I got a lot of issues on my plate right now. That's not one of them.